What's up guys, welcome back to another video. I've had some requests on editing. A few people have been saying, how do you edit? What's your editing process? So I'm just gonna dive into it right now. I've picked a few different photos. These are raws from the last 3 shoots. Now I'm just recording my screen right now. So we have Kelly from a shoot a few weeks ago. And then we have this really nice one here of her just in the grass. And then we have Jody just wrapping her arms around herself here. And then we have Amy in the grass. Here we go. I'm just gonna get straight into it. How do I edit? This is my editing process. I just bang on a JB Film 1 preset because these are my presets down the side here. My presets that I've created, you can buy them. I'll link them in description. So bang, straight away, super warm. So I will tone that down right down to where I think it's nice, 4,861 Kelvin. And now that's starting to look better already. Now let's bring down the exposure. Enter there, and now if we press tab, before, after, before, after. We've already got a little bit more golden stuff happening with the reeds there, and the highlights and whites have come down. No matter what preset you buy, you're always gonna have to tweak them, right? And I'm not gonna say, hey, you don't have to tweak my preset, because you will have to depending on where you're shooting. So, but it's not too difficult. So let's go through it. So I've adjusted the warmth, I've adjusted the exposure, brought the height and whites down. Now, I wanna make it a little bit more contrasty, so I'm gonna bring the blacks down a little bit, and then let's also bring the shadows down. I like to bring the shadows down to maybe about plus 30. And tab, before, after, before, after. Already looking really nice. And now my clarity and dehaze are on both on -10. And I like that. And my vibrance is on -10. So I'm just gonna bring up the vibrance a little bit to about -2. And that just makes it pop a little bit. Boom, there, before, after, before, after. Straight away like it. Now let's go Command 9, grain. I like to add a little bit of grain, maybe about 20 to 25 is good. Perfect. It's a little bit contrasty actually, so let's just bring down that contrast, and whether you adjust your shadows or you adjust your contrast, it's like very similar. So now let's crop it. I like to put my model or talent in the third, so put her head in the third. Sometimes it's like if she was looking away, I would bring her over here into the third like that. And if she was looking away into this distance over to the right here, but she's not, she's facing the camera. So I'm just gonna put her in the middle, I'm gonna crop her in the middle, and then just put her head about the top third. Perfect. Now, how's my brightness? Is good there. So now we're looking, we can see there's like a little bit of magenta happening here. Or maybe not, because that's, so you go Command 3, bring the magenta and purple down. Okay, that's good. Might bring tone curve, Command 2, just bring down the highlights slightly, and then bring down the whites a little bit at the top of the tone curve there. And then I'll go Command 1, back to my adjustments. Even bring down the texture a couple of notches. Perfect. And I might put the warmth back up a little bit. Cool. I don't mind this. Command 3, I'll just scroll through. What are we looking at here? Command 4, okay, just to check our color grading as well. I like my shadows, like a little bit of warmth, and I like my highlights to have a little bit of warmth. But naturally, I think I don't want to adjust my highlights warmth on this one right now. Before, after, so much difference, love it already. Now, so my chromatic aberration and enable profile corrections are on. We'll go Command 7. I don't adjust that too much. And then Command 9, we've got grain, so there's a little bit of grain there. Now, what I'll sometimes do is I'll go to the select subject, so masking. So we'll go select subject, it'll select her. And I'll sometimes, just to make her pop a little bit, try and always make your subject stand out just slightly, but you want everything to be subtle, right? You want small, subtle adjustments. We don't want anything to be too crazy, and that's what I take pride in my own editing. I like my editing to still look quite natural to the day you shot it. So we'll just go adjust her up a tiny bit, a little bit of shadows, and maybe a little bit of go down to clarity, just up the clarity a little bit. And then we'll go cool, happy with that, and then go create new mask, and then we'll go select background. And then I want to just lower the background just slightly to make her pop a little bit. So we'll just lower the exposure a tiny bit. So you can already tell, like if you go too far, you can see it's just like, it looks silly. So we don't want to go too crazy with it. We just want to go, you know, minus 0.1 or even less. Shadows tiny bit down. And keep in mind, there's actually a new thing here, Command 8 takes you down to bokeh, lens blur. There is now lens blur in Lightroom. So you can create your own bokeh, essentially, which is just crazy. So let's just have a look what happens here. Let's apply it. Okay, so now I've applied it. What you can do, you can shift the bokeh of where you want it to fade. Look at that. So there's like the subject. You shift it from front to back. Crazy. And then you've also got your bokeh there. You've got like your different types of bokeh. I don't know. If you're shooting, yeah, I don't know. I think if you're just shooting at a low aperture anyway, that you're getting your bokeh. So, but there's just a little tip there anyway. I'm not going to use it, but you can adjust it if you want there. Okay, so we'll get out of the mask, and what have we got here? Before, after, nice and warm. I'm just looking at the corners of the screen. Cool. How's the composition? What are the colors doing? Are the blues natural there? So I'm just like the blue hues have kind of changed. I've changed the highlights and the whites in the reeds, but I like the colors of the reeds now. It's brought them down, it's created a bit more texture, a bit more contrast in the reeds, and I like that. And it's also removed like a little bit of green saturation in the reeds as well. So it's just toned things back a little bit, which I like that look. Now it's up to you how warm you want to go. I might just make it a little bit cooler there, sit it there. Could drop down the exposure just a tiny bit more. Cool. And I'm pretty happy with that. Before, after. Before, after. See what it does, it brings down the highlights and whites in the clouds as well and creates a bit more texture, brings it out. Yeah, because otherwise it looks a bit more blown out. And that's another thing. Just bring your camera up and shoot down slightly, maybe towards the, either like in line with your model's eyes or just up a little bit. Nothing too crazy because I think then it looks a little bit weird. But that way you can remove that the background that's blown out just a little bit, because I don't love shooting into a blown out background. It just doesn't look that good. So just keep in mind with that, like shift your body a little bit and create a background or canvas that has that is darker if you can. I couldn't really turn to the right here and shoot, but as you can see, the background's going up. So it'd be nice to sort of shoot that way a little bit, but that's why we sat down. So this next one here, it was very much like, okay, so I kind of want darker background. I don't want that exposure in the back. So we went and sat down. So let's just apply this JB Film 1 to this next photo and see what it looks like. I'm enjoying that. I mean, I love that. Hope you guys do too. Like I said, I'll link the JB preset pack in my description below this video. So now we go Command, click on that, press sync, synchronize. And this will bring out, oh, there's Jody, that's the next one. There we go. Okay, so before, after, before, after. It's pretty warm. Let's just kind of bring the warmth back a little bit to that. I can see her head's like quite high in the frame. So I want to like just bring that up a little bit. Even though I'm cutting off her feet, a touch there. Her eyes are really nice and blue. So then what we can do here is probably go just do a little cheeky radial gradient filter, and we'll just up the exposure a little bit on the face just to make a, not too much. Too much, shadows a tiny bit. You can get wild and just, if you really want, you could like go into her eyes and create, also just like get a brush tool and brush in there. But for these sort of videos, I don't tend to do that because it's not really necessary. Don't mind that, so might bring the shadows back a little bit. What does that look like? Don't want things too contrasty. You could also create a radial filter in this, and we'll go radial gradient, and sometimes I'll bring that up here. I'll put it around her, and then I'll go to mask, click the 3 dots, invert mask 2, and then I will just slightly bring it back, exposure back. So it kind of creates a little bit of a vignette. Again, very, very subtle. Okay, so all right, what are the colors doing? I'm looking at the composition, I'm looking at the colors, looking at a face. The blue is nice. I kind of like that blue, it's popping. What's it doing to the greens? It's bringing back the color, a little bit of the green. We got a little bit of foreground here. I sort of got nice and low so you can create a bit of foreground. Use foreground as depth as you're shooting whatever you're shooting. I think it creates a photo that's a little bit more interesting if there's some depth in your foreground. And that creates layers. So you've got a foreground, you've got your talent, and then you've got your background. So the background will fall away. So there's like 3 different layers. I think the more layers that you can create, the more interesting the photo can get. If you're just like going straight into whatever you're shooting, you're just kind of like falling into it. It's just experiment. Try shoot with a little bit of depth and just see what happens. And I think you'll probably like it better. Just a little bit of advice to experiment. Always, you just got to experiment and try new things to figure out your composition and the way you want to shoot and the direction you want to take to improve. So there we go. Okay, nice. Now we got +8 there. Command 9, we got 21, perfect. Okay, so now let's go to the next one. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna fiddle around with the temp a little bit. See, that's too cool for me. I like it. Somewhere there. 4:6, nice. Okay, let's go large screen. What does that look like? It's pretty nice, it's pretty nice. And then if you wanna if you wanna get rid of blemishes and stuff, you can also use this tool here, but I always use Photoshop because it's a fair bit better. Now, let's go to Jody. Straight into it, let's go JB Film 1, but let's scroll. There's JB Film 4, JB Film 5, JB Film 3, JB Film 2. In this light, in the morning with direct sun, I like JB Film 1. I'm gonna tone back again, try and make it natural. You don't want it too overpowering with warmth. And then we'll go R. Let's straighten that horizon. So I'm always looking to straighten the horizon. It looks a bit weird if the horizon's straight, not straight, unless it's like intentional, And then we'll put her in the bang in the middle. Boom. Perfect. Cool, so then we've got her in the middle. We've straightened the horizon. We've got a nice bit of warmth, warm her up a little bit. Let's bring back the shadows a bit. Let's bring back the whites. Let's bring back the blacks. Just create a little bit of contrast. And let's up the vibrance just a little bit, just to get that color back. Command 3, go saturation. The blue, what's the blue doing? Now the hues, I just bring the blue hues back from turquoise back to blue a little bit. So that just changes it slightly in the ocean there. So we've got before, after, which I think it's more of a solid blue. I like it. Now saturation, I might actually bring the saturation down a little bit because it's a bit much. Let's look at the skin tones. What are our skin tones doing? They're a bit warm. So look, there's quite a bit of magenta, or like I'm seeing here in the Canon R5. I like the color of the ocean. It just tones it back, and it just brings those hues back a notch, just to not make it super harsh. And that's what I like. It looks more natural, kind of like a nice hues, tone, sweet tones, bro. What do they say? Sick tones, bro. So yeah, sick tones, bring that back. Depends if you want to add grain. I'm not going to add grain. I've got 11 in grain at the moment. I will go mask, select subject, and it all depends on like the style of shoot that you're going for as well. So I'll just up her exposure a tiny bit, up the shadows a little bit, just to make her pop slightly, and then up the whites. Cool. And then I might just ever so slightly bring her warmth of the body back. She pops, it's nice. There's like, it might be a little bit too much there, but I don't know, I think it's quite good. She's still got that contrast there on her back. Load. Yeah, I think that's good. That's nice actually. I like to always bring it into a larger screen. Skin tones look great. The ocean looks awesome. I think I shot this, what did I shoot this on? The 50mm, I believe. 50mm f2, 1/5000th of a second, ISO 125. And that 50mm just brings that background closer and creates that compression, which I like. Now, I'm very happy with that. I think that's pretty cool. So then let's now move on to the next one. Now, battling with the greens. Okay, battle of the greens. Amy. You can see I don't love greens because my JB Film 1 immediately like reduces the saturation of the greens and creates more like luminance and brings the hues back of it. But let's now just bring that up a bit. I like how the grass is creating this arch around her. It's kind of framing her. It's pretty cool, look for that. What can you frame your subject with? Now let's just shimmy her into the middle. Sweet, okay, she's reading a book. Let's look at before, after. Before, after with JB Film 1, nice. Let's bring back the shadows a little bit. Let's bring back the whites, bring back the blacks, and I feel like this deserves a radial gradient to really complement her there. Okay, so I'm actually going to invert it because I think she's pretty nicely exposed there. So it's just too much, just a little bit. Bring the shadows back slightly as well, cool. Before, after, the JB Film 1 does a pretty good job. A little bit of texture, let's bring that back. Now what is the vibrance doing? I'm gonna up the vibrance a little bit to about -2. Vibrance just like seems to accentuate the colors a little bit that's already there. Doesn't oversaturate it. I don't love oversaturated images. So let's take that back to about -6, cool. We could even just up the exposure slightly, I think. That's nice. Now, highlights up a little bit, Command 2 takes us, might just turn the cone, that's all right there, Command 3. What have we got with the greens? Saturation, greens are down, that's the way I like it. Highlights, I think her skin tones, you know, if you adjust this highlights, I think that would make her skin tones a little bit warm, which I don't want to do too much of. Very, very subtle. Command 5, don't sharpen. Command 6, remove chromatic aberration, enable profile corrections. Cool, they're both ticked. Command 7, don't touch with that. There's our bokeh. Command 9, we've got grain 11. So, little random Ugg boot there, not sure what's happening there, but that's in it. And then that's very close to done. Maybe bring back the white balance just a little bit, I think. About there. Again, I would go in and remove some blemishes. What's happening there? The book, a couple of tattoos, sweet. Yeah, let's bring that up. It's quite nice. It's quite, I like this shot. It's like quite storytelling. It's just getting angles, creating a different angle. It's pretty cool. You're just like, instead of shooting alongside someone or into them, like just create different angles and experiment with different angles, and you never know what you can come up with, and create some sort of different weird composition, and you might like it. You might walk away from the shoot in the editing room going, hang on, that's awesome. And that is awesome, because that means like you're learning to grow as a photographer, create these new angles and be a better photographer, and that's what you can look for going to the next shoot. And that's what it is all about. It's like getting out there as many times you can, shooting, doing different things, experimenting, and then growing from that shoot, moving on to the next one. So with just this little bit more information. And that is essentially what happens, and that's practice. Practice makes perfect. Always a student, never a master, though that's what I like to say. Let's wrap it up there. So basically we have, okay, Kelly, nice work. She did a great shoot up in Perth. I really like that shot. She's just, yeah, she's amazing. Great model. In the reeds, look at that texture, really cool. So Kelly's good. And then we have this sitting down one, which is great. Create that foreground. Look for ways you can create depth in your images with foreground. And then we move on to Jody. Love this shot. She's just like loving, I think I even said, love thyself. Maybe when she was laying down. And just look at the ocean. Nice hues, like colors, beautiful skin tones, using that depth of the 50mm to just create this storytelling of her just like wrapping her arms around her own body. And that was what we were going for in this shoot, which was really cool. And I love that shoot. And obviously you guys did too, because it had like over nearly 60,000 views, which is pretty epic. It is epic. And then let's move on to Amy. So again, like getting over the top of it here, shooting down, reading a book, storytelling, leaning into that storytelling, doing a thing. The grass is creating that outline around her. The JB Film 1 drops the saturation in the greens. Just look at the skin tones as well. Don't go over the top too much. It's just small, subtle adjustments in your edits. I think that just add up to a really nice, not over the top, oversaturated edit. It just looks natural. So if you can create images that look quite natural and candid, and have good storytelling, good composition, good lighting, and like character, and what's happening in the photos, like the event, you can really start nailing your photo shoots. So think about that going into your next shoot. And that's all we have. Again, thanks so much for watching. This is the way I edit JB Film 1 presets. That's the main one I use, but you can buy the pack. I'll link it in the description, and you can just go through it and just tweak the images, chuck them on your photos in Lightroom desktop. This is Lightroom Classic. You probably have to tweak them a little bit. So tweak them a bit to the way you like them, and let's get out there and shoot and become better photographers. That's what I say. Thanks so much for watching, guys. And I've got a shoot on the weekend, so I will have another video out for you on Friday. So Jess, her name is, so we're really looking forward to it. We've got a nice little concept we're going to come up with. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Hold that with your hands. Love the self, love thyself, beautiful.